So, Black Friday. I know we sort of adopted it from the States, but how did it begin in the first place?
Well, it's like, you know, we can talk about how it's kind of a nonsense in this part of the world in a minute, but it started in America. Like, there's multiple backstories about how Black Friday started. So one idea is that in Philadelphia in the 1960s, the police were just, you know, they had to deal with a huge volume of people who came into Philadelphia on the Friday after Thanksgiving to do their shopping, and they'd go to a big match between Army and Navy, a big American football match, and the streets were just black with people, and it was just like, so that it became known as Black Friday. Another...
Wait, hang on, were they just shopping for Christmas?
Yeah, they were doing their Christmas shopping.
Oh.
And the reason why they were doing that is because obviously Thanksgiving falls on the last Thursday in November, and virtually all American workers outside of retail have the following day off. It's a bit like St. Stephen's Day in Ireland. So they'd have the Thursday for Thanksgiving, and then on the Friday, they would do their Christmas shopping, because it would be like a bank holiday for most of America. So it makes sense in the United States to have that kind of day. As I say, it's like our St. Stephen's Day. But it didn't exist in this part of the world until I think it was 2013, when Asda in the UK, which is owned by Walmart, decided to have a Black Friday sale in Asda. And everyone went mad for it. And there was riots in the aisles, and you could see blood spillage in aisle 7, and there was people...
Is Asda not just a supermarket where they sell electronic goods?
No, it's kind of like, you know, big Tesco. You know, the big Tesco's will sell everything.
Yeah,
so,
okay, you could get TVs.
Exactly. So there was riots in the aisles of Asda all over England, up and down the country, as people were going, I want my cheap telly, I want all these clothes at a knockdown price. Now, a normal retailer might have thought to themselves, do you know what, we'll leave them to it. We don't want any of that. But the following year, all retailers said, oh, japers, we'll have a bit of that. So there was Black Friday sales all over the UK and in some parts of Ireland in 2014. And then by 2015, everybody had to have a Black Friday sale. And of course, the retailers hate it, because the last couple of weeks in November and the first few weeks in December are when everybody's out spending money anyway. So the last thing they want to do is to be forced into sale at a time when people are spending money. But of course, once some retailers started doing it, all retailers started doing it. So then, because you had people going, well, your man there has a Black Friday sale, why don't you? And some Irish retailers have kind of resisted the wave and stood firm against this tide of relentless consumerism. But most of them have just caved in and have Black Friday sales.
Well, you know, some people have also said that there aren't really that many deals to be had, that retailers just putting up the prices and to knock them down again.
Yeah, kind of. They're a little bit more subtle than that, although they do a bit of that. Now, according to Which magazine, the British consumer watchdog, they carry out this survey every single year, and they keep a track of pricing really closely. So they look at the price of all these electronic goods in the 6 months before Black Friday and then the 6 months after Black Friday. And every year for many years, they've found out that 99% of all the products that are advertised on sale on Black Friday are actually cheaper, or at least the same price, beforehand or afterwards. Now, what that says is that people sometimes think, oh, Jay, I better buy the product now because it's on sale, it's Black Friday. Relax, lads, it's like a bus. There's going to be another sale in 3 or 4 weeks' time. So that's one thing. Now, in terms of how they manipulate it, they're actually a bit clever, because what they do is, let's say if there's a phone, right, and it was released in 2020 with a recommended retail price of €1,000. Now, by 2021, it's never going to be selling for €1,000. It'll be selling for €700. And then by 2022, it might be selling for €500. So what the retailer will do is they'll sell it at €400 and say 60% off, because it's 60% off the price it was 2 years ago, but it's not necessarily 60% off the price that you could buy it for in the shops yesterday. So that's one thing that they do. And then sometimes they will say, okay, they'll have a product priced at X, like €1,000 or €500 for a couple of weeks in last August. And then that will be the anchor price they use when they discount it. And then the other reason people need to be wary of sales is that a lot of the time they're getting rid of stock so that they can make way for the new season stock in the new year. So they're not selling stuff that necessarily you want, but they're discounting it, so it makes it seem more attractive.
But didn't a recent survey show that half of all consumers are quite sceptical and a bit cynical about Black Friday now?
Way more than half, actually. This was a survey that was released by the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission in Ireland on Monday, and it showed that 65% of people are really sketchy and dodgy.
Yeah.
They think the Black Friday sales, you know, they don't have as many bargains as the retailers claim. Now, having said that, that's not to say that there's no value or merit in these Black Friday sales. Because if you're in the market for a product and the product is discounted next weekend, well, then it makes sense for you to buy that product. So let's say if you need a new fridge, or if you need a gold lame suit.
Yeah, 'cause
You
always-
do.
I
You
do.
would say you do.
I wake up every single morning and think, if only I had a shimmering gold suit, my life would be complete. But if you need something, right, and it's on a discount next weekend, well, then buy it when it's on a discount, if you need it. But as with, and I know you don't like me saying this, Karen, but as with all sale items, unless you actually need it, you're wasting your money buying it.
I do that. I'm like, would I have paid full price for it?
And that's the question you ask yourself. Would I pay full price for this thing because I really need it or I really value it? And if the answer is no, well, then maybe you might want to reconsider it.
So in terms of doing our homework ahead of Black Friday, what is your advice?
Yeah, well, this is why it's good to talk about it now rather than next Wednesday when it's going to be much closer to Black Friday, because you need to do a little bit of research now. So let's say if you want 2 or 3 or 4 things. And the people who shop on Black Friday spend an average of around €400 in this country. So that's the kind of typical spend. So if you're in the market for something, price it today across 3 or 4 retailers, right? And then next week, when all the sales start in earnest, see how much it costs. And at least if you've done a little bit of the advance work, and I'm not saying that you wander around 15 shops to see how much X, Y, or Z costs. Just look on the web and see how much the thing that you want costs today. And then compare it to how much it's going to cost next Friday. And if there's a real knockdown price, well, then you can say to yourself, deadly, I'll buy that. But if it's the same price, or if you can find it at a cheaper price than another retailer, you kind of know you're being manipulated.
Okay, well, you know, I'm laughing how you're saying about people normally take, what, 2, 3 or 4 items?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you one thing. My significant other is heading off to the States next week for Thanksgiving. And there'll be 2 or 3 or 4 bags
I wouldn't be surprised.
coming home. So,
And funny enough, America is where you get, the Black Friday sales in America are really full on. So your partner will probably come back with amazing bargains.
There's the whole family going over. They'll be armed and ready, ready
But the
to
question
go.
the question still applies. If you need the stuff, it's good value.
Yeah.
But if you don't need it, like how many pairs of shoes can one
Oh,
human
come
being
here,
have?
careful with that question now. She's actually watching there.
My wife would hate me for asking that question too, it has to be said.
No, I'm laughing at it because it's all about preparation. I've already got the list. She's already got the list, so thanks, honey. You know, so she's going back with a few bags for us. But yeah, no, it is a bit out there. Sometimes scary, actually, when you see the reactions in the States of all places.
I hate shopping. Like, I hate shopping, and I hate all the crowds, and I hate all the... But yeah, one of the good things I do in my job is I have to shop. I am always working on St. Stephen's Day, and I'm always in the big Brown Thomas and Arnott's at 8 a.m. when the sales start, and it's always kind of quiet, and I kind of like that.
Yeah.
But I never have any time to spend any money or any money to spend. It's after Christmas. I don't have a bean. I have lots of children.
Actually, after the money has been spent, what rights do people have for sales, especially when it comes to online after the fact?
Yeah. Well, the good news is you have more rights when you shop online than you do when you shop in bricks and mortar shops. So if I buy a pair of shoes in a shop and I decide after the fact that I don't like the shoes, I can't bring them back and get a full refund. Whereas if I buy those shoes online and I decide I don't like them, or for any other reason I don't want the shoes, I'm entitled to a full refund within 14 days after I get the product delivered to my house. Now, the really important point to make here is that your rights as a consumer when it comes to shopping online only apply within the European Union. So it only applies to shops within the European Union. And unfortunately, because of that B word, Brexit, the UK retailers are no longer within the EU. So they're no longer bound by European Union legislation. So when you are shopping, it's incredibly important that you look at where you're shopping. And by the way, it's also doubly important that if you are shopping online in this Black Friday season, which it now is, I think some of the retailers are already in Black Friday, and they're saying Black Friday sales, and I'm going, but it's Tuesday. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. If you shop local, you're doing your bit for the local economy, and you're improving the lot of people who are living within your community. And I think that's really important.
That's a big takeaway.